here right now.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Hey, look at us. We're back. Who knew?
We're back. Good.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm going through the week. Yeah, we're getting on, and summer's going good. So we're get away from our smoky weather. Everybody's getting smoky. You got any smoke down there yet? Have we been able to give that?
Only in LA do they have smoke right now. Other than that, we're all good. So we're doing fine everywhere else.
Can't give you some of that smoke, eh? I think we're giving it to some of your northern states.
That's okay.
We like to share.
You've been the 51st state soon. We want you to share. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll give you all our garbage. How's that?
Apparently, I'm good with that. Listen, I love Canada. When I go visit Canada, I always have a good time. You have Cuban cigars there, so I'm always happy to go. So there you go.
There you go. Well, speaking of that,
today we have a great artist with us. We spoke to her. She has a personality and laughs, and she's going to be like a delight for you to talk with. She's going to keep the audience engaged, not like some of them that it's kind of like we have to poke them with a stick. But she's she's ready to go.
She is ready to go. She has a nice smile, and I think part of it maybe comes from what she paints. She's we've had floral painters before, people that paint flowers but Karen has a different take on them. Really, they're each one is kind of a journey, and I've looked at them a number of times and over this last while, and I think she can share quite a bit of knowledge with how she does these things. Like not everybody, it's not the little prissy little flowers. I mean, we're not talking about that. We're talking some pretty aggressive flowers here. So, and a flower really is only a subject. I mean, whether you paint a glass of water or a book, whatever's in front of you, you paint. But she's got a really nice genre of work, and talk about her experiences, how she gets there. Like, how do you get to that stage in your life, in your career? It's not you just don't jump in and do these things. I mean, there's going to be some pain along the way to get the gain, right? They always say that.
That's what they say.
They say that.
It's going to be really funny if she tells you, no, I just started out doing aggressive flowers. I will laugh, but I'm assuming she didn't. But if she says that, even if she says that and sticks to it for the whole show, I'm going to be like, that's awesing. So, but no, her stuff.
I'm going to go hang my brushes up if that's the case.
I'm done. I'm not painting anymore.
Let's bring Karen in.
There you go. Karen, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you today?
Oh, if there's any better, there'd be two of us, and you don't want that. So I'm going to let you and Paul discuss about your aggressive flowers, because all I can do is draw stick figures and not well. And I will see you at the end of the show, and I will ask my famous favorite questions. If you haven't seen any of the shows, you're SOL, and if you have, then you know what they are. And we'll see you later. So enjoy your interview. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, good day to you.
Yeah. Hi, Paul.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Barring what Steven says, you just give him a grain of salt with him. I've been looking forward to this interview all week, and just because I think it's a subject matter and how you carry yourself as far as presenting your work, right? It's a lot of it comes down to, yes, you can paint yourself into a corner, or you can paint yourself into a wide open space. Just get going and paint, but focus on what you're painting, and the subject matter becomes really important to the individual. I mean, it's whether are you painting for an audience or do you paint for yourself first? Those kind of questions. And can you give us a little bit about your background, like the so-called couple minutes, the art journey up to today, a little bit, just the highlights for people?
Okay. Well, my art journey started probably, from the time I could walk. I've always been creative, and it started out with writing, and writing led to calligraphy, of which I do professionally as well. And the art became studying with great people, all kinds of workshops, Letters were always a big part of the background of the work, as well as the words. And from that, I grew into abstract art, which became more about color and dynamics, and was geared towards water and nature. And then the floral and fauna sort of is a new thing, which I was just so blown over. We visited Greece and I saw these vessels from 3,000 years ago and the lettering on them and the beautiful color of the flowers. And I just got blown away by it. And I thought, I don't want to paint flowers because there are so many wonderful artists that paint perfect flowers. And I'm not a perfect painter. I'm more of a, I want to get the feeling out. I want to get the exuberance of the subject matter out there. I think that's.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and it comes across in your work. I think understanding that you're dealing, your panels are what, 36 by 36, basically squares?
30 by 40, 36 by 36.
And they're on canvas as well, and
yes, and board as well.
As well as board. Okay, so and are you whatever's in your hand you paint with? Is that kind of how you? Is it mostly brush and?
I also have some handmade tools. I also use rollers, plastics, spacers. I use all kinds of different tools, but I do like to start in layers, usually with a layer of gesso, and then I make some marks, and then I do some words, and then the colors come, and then I just go on from there.
Yeah. So what do you use for reference? I guess reference material. Do you buy bouquets of flowers? Do you?
No,
I
I'm so fortunate. I live. I face a field actually. It's got all kinds of different flora and fauna, but I also have the great fortune of being able to do walks in nature, and I take my own pictures, and from that I build upon what I'm going to paint.
Yeah, I'm going to get Stephen to start up our our first image here, and we can go if he didn't fall asleep at the wheel. There it is.
I hope not.
Well, we got control of the wheel now, so he got good. So this, I think we needed this as we're talking about these visuals, and you said these flowers, and I mean, down in the one corner, I see this kind of impressions of a doily or a
bubble wrap. It's bubble
wrap. There you go. It takes on a persona of something else. So one subject matter can look like something else, right? I'm really a proponent of art taking you on journeys. I think it really is how one person sees this is different than yourself or the next person next to you. They all say, well, some will just see, yes, a flower. Some will see the design aspects of it. Mm-hmm. The color palette becomes important for a lot of people. And I think we do want people to be happy with our work. I mean, especially when they purchase the work, they want to, they put it on their wall. Does it speak to them differently each morning? Do they find something after a week in there that they didn't see on day one? Do you find that sometimes because your work has kind of an abstracted aspect?
I am an abstract artist. And I think the one thing about abstract art is I love when a collector comes back with their own story and their own feeling about the art. I love that. I don't often like to tell them what the story is.
Yeah. So when you set up and paint in your studio, do you paint in a series? Like
yes. I'll work on 4 or 5 at a time. And not all of them always turn out either. So.
You find sometimes you turn them around a little bit?
I have done, yes. Yes, I have. And I do.
Yeah. No, it's the nice thing, that's sort of the nice thing with abstract art, you can do that a little bit. The only other one you can do that with is realist painters of a landscape that paint the reflection exactly in the water that is above, and they can just keep turning that painting 180 degrees.
Yeah, that's incredible. When you see it, it's incredible.
Yeah, but anyway, I think I am not that kind of professed painter. I tend to I like to get my hands dirty and wet and those things get mucking around in. a little bit, but we're going to the, I guess, the shapes of the flowers. So are they representational of the actual flower, or do they take on kind of a life of their own once you start painting? Do they need more petals, or do they need to be filled out more than what you see? How far do you take that? Do you know, in your work?
I take it pretty far.
Yeah.
This one actually was based on two types of flowers, which would be a hydrangea and a rose, but neither, you wouldn't know that looking at them. The blues, the purpley blues of the hydrangeas are just, they're incredible. So that was actually the focus, that those colors and what would go with those colors and how to bring it out. And I think the greens and the darker blacks and the brown just make that pop, and that's what I was looking for. What I'm trying to look for is to make it so it's exciting to look at, and it's not boring, you know. It's not like, oh, I'm not really sure how to say this properly, but I think what I'm trying to do is create art that brings people pleasure, that makes them happy to look at. That's my thing.
And as we move on to some of the other ones, you can really see the joy in some of these other pieces, because they're all each individually quite different. And you can see the influences that come possibly from one painting to the next a little bit, how they're kind of talking to each other. I use that analogy a little bit, but I think we'll just give another one here. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, these are almost drip and drizzled types of paintings. Is that, do you start that way a little bit? Like, can you just smack some color and let it run on the page and let it dry down? And is this an oil or acrylic that you work
This
in?
is an acrylic, and there are a lot of layers in this one. And yes, there are paintings where I work with drips and drabbles and different things, and then I put it all together with colors, sometimes with a bit of collage as well that's hidden in there. Other times I've done pieces with larger collage. This one I find it quiet, but also sort of relaxing to look at. It's a large one. It's 36 by 36.
Yeah.
And
I think there's just this there is a serenity in there, but I do like the depth that's happening in there. I think that some of the blues push you back, and the yellows are just this Monet thing happening, where a little impressionistic, in an abstract way. And yes, they are flowers, but you kind of know maybe they're just a field paintings of abstract shapes and colors. And I think the shape also, they're not all just these little poofy little round things or things, and the transparency of the leaves come through in a different way. I mean, and now, for lack of words, the scribble of the blossom, there's an exuberance in that kind of personifies the flower, but I think it gives it a little, pay attention to me, like, and there it's like these little vibrating little things that are, and they do that, they decide I'm important today, and this other one says I'm important, and but they all kind of take time, because there are some that are pushed back farther into the vessels, that are holding them.
yes.
I think I really like looking at a lot of the florals. A lot of the stem work is really important, because they give structure to a bouquet that is sitting up. So vertical structure holding a body of color above it, right? Like lollipopping kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They give different energies to it, where this one's really about shapes. The vertical stems aren't just little thin stems, that are holding things up. There's this obscure little there's a darkness in the dark way in the back, and so that there's more than one flower here. There's this it's cram packed full right to the edge. I mean, it's really a beautiful piece, and
Thank you.
it has nice energy all over. I think, yeah, it would. So is this one sold? by the way?
Oh, this one's not sold yet.
It's available. Okay.
It's actually in a show right now, so that's good.
So do you do pop-up shows, or are you with the gallery?
I'm with a gallery. I'm with two galleries. The one gallery I'm an associate with, Gallery Old Chelsea, and another show I'm doing right now is with another artist. Her name is Judy Miller, and it's with the City of Ottawa. So we've got a full show up. Yeah.
When does that show up? Is it now?
It ends July the 8th.
Perfect. People can get down there and see your show in Ottawa. That'd be great. Yeah. There's another one. So is this one of these vessels from Greece that you're talking about?
This is, yeah, the influence. So in Greece and Italy as well, you find these little shops where they have these, antique and a lot of glass. There's a lot of glass and pottery of course, in Greece and Italy. And I was really, I don't know, it touched my heart. I loved both those countries very much. This one is different in the sense that I did the layers, and then you can see where there's a bit of crackling, and I painted it over with a very light color, and then I came back in and put everything on top. So that was a really fun piece. That one's gone. And it's you can see more of the calligraphic lines that I use a lot of in my work. And it's a small piece, but I liked the vibrancy of how it came out without too much, just the red. The rest is still not pushing at you, but they're there. They make their mark. So
right. I just love the strength of this vessel in the foreground and this transparent glass in the background. Just there's a really nice linear aspect to that, and then the solids, and they do give a really nice abstract feeling, yet they have there's a story going on there within the piece, right? So yeah, and I feel that little blue bubbles coming out. I don't know where it's a fun piece. It has there's I don't know. I looked at this thing and I thought, oh, that's strange. And I said, no, it's not strange. It's just
it's okay. You can say my word strange. I've heard that.
I love strange and love different, but I think this holds together nicely. It really has a nice solid piece on the bottom, and I can see why somebody would want this one right away. And there's some neutralities to it, but there's also a real punch. Like pretty bold. You start drawing a line like that around that vessel out of that black.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. That's a punch kind of a thing. But I'm glad it wasn't bright red or, but then you look at it, if it was kind of a blue, it would look kind of cool too. Like it changes the mood of the painting dramatically. And this still has that warm feeling about it, a little bisque background, and looks like you had fun in that background as well. Was there like sponges and stuff you work with in that, or you?
Yeah, actually I used a scraper, like the thing you use for a shish kebab, really, and made marks in it, and then painted over it lightly, and then put some matte medium, and then paint, and kept making little marks like that.
So it's really important to build up those layers, because they're rediscovered later on even if you have a bad painting you think is bad, it basically can become an amazing background for the next painting.
Yes.
When you even partially gesso or partially work over top of it in a new way, turn it upside down, do something with it. But I'm a believer that not all paintings are bad. It's just, I think sometimes as an artist, we're not as focused when we start something. What happens when you approach a white canvas though? What do you do? What is your first thing you do?
I make marks right away.
You make a mark. Yeah. It's just like, how do you,
I like to stand back, and I have a brush that's on a stick, so I can make gestural marks from far away. So they're not small marks and they're not determined marks. They're just loose and free. And then I'll go in with a smaller brush and make different marks or write words, just to keep the looseness there and not determine right away, where my focus is going to be. I'd rather just work my way into that.
Yeah. So you let it stimulate you while you're working on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That scares the H out of me.
No, it's not easy. Let me tell you. Some days
well, I'm a landscape painter mostly and such, but and
Yeah.
that can happen where you think you're going to do a landscape, but if you don't have the base of your work sketched out as an idea, you're just wasting paint and time because I mean, it can be a self-discovery, but you find, oh, I should have moved down that, and then you end up redoing so many things, which is part of the process, I guess, for some artists.
Yeah.
But I think there's a frustration to that where you say, and then some days you're very clear about an idea which you want,
Hmm.
and you just can walk up to that panel or canvas, and it's done. Like it's just like it paints itself.
Right.
And I think sometimes it happens when you're stimulated by the right material at the right time. Say you trip to Greece, for instance, you buy stuff in the window in the shop and you see things, you come back to your hotel room and you do a sketch.
Yeah.
It's because you've accumulated material along the way in your mind that you say, I like this, right?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work the same when it's cold turkey, when you just sort of in the studio, okay, trying to remember back a new body of work, and you need to find those stimulants a little bit to keep, I guess, your shows cohesive. I
Yeah.
mean, when you
It's
have how many pieces do you usually have in a show?
between 15 and 20
Yeah.
usually.
So
You know.
it always has to have enough to resonate with people that when they come in and they say, this is what Karen's work looked like, right? And if the person bought this painting over here, I would be just about as happy to buy this one. Well, I think that is sort of what
Yeah.
working in a series does.
I agree.
Not that you're painting to a market, but what you're doing is saying you're painting to your own ideas and
Right.
I
And
guess, your beliefs and your time.
yeah, I think it's also important to have a cohesive. When I first started out, I was so excited by everything that you'd have different paintings hanging in your local show that maybe didn't speak well together, and that's hard to show in a small area. Although in a larger area, it can be shown on different walls. It just but I
So
think cohesive is important for me now as an artist to have a body of work that works together. I
yeah.
find each piece, it tells a different story, but with the same colors, and I find it fascinating actually myself.
So how does that work when you have a two-person show? You're having one now?
Yes.
Does this other person do similar material?
No, Judy Miller is an embroidery artist, so it's absolutely fascinating to have my work beside her. She's quite an accomplished artist, but she has panels that are 5 feet long and 2.5 feet wide, where she's embroidered on this material, and then the material is washed away, and you're left with the thread.
Mhm.
And so my art, this piece is in there. This is called Clusters. This is one of the pieces that's in that show. And we both did a lot of the work when we were in Newfoundland. We were doing a, a residency in Newfoundland in Poach Cove for a month. And so our work has that cohesiveness of colors that all work together, but it's completely different art.
Yeah. So I think it's important to find that complementary artist to be with.
Yeah.
What strengthens each of your works. It's sort of completing a story. It's hard sometimes to find those artists that to
Yeah.
collaborate with in a two-person show or things, but it sounds beautiful. And that's a show that's on right now.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
on.
boy, I encourage everybody to go to see that. That would be amazing. Yeah, so this one again is just this explosion of of color again, and I like the looseness of the flowers. I mean, they're just a
They're
representation.
inferred. They're definitely I'm definitely not a perfect flower painter. It's more the feeling of the flower is what I'm trying to get across.
And I don't know about the perfect flower painter. I think just because you can replicate something like in a photograph, I don't think that's necessarily what an artist really does all the time.
No.
You're either trying to find some energy, different energies, colors, and transparencies, and
Yeah,
different things that happen, right?
yeah.
So, but yours is a feeling more. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the feeling of it is a little pow, it's just, but when it sits on a wall, it's different than other stuff that might be around it. It has it can fit in a lot of nice places, has some nice lines. And I just, we'll go to another one here. There, this one's a little different. You
Yeah.
see the difference between the two. The other one was a little bit more linear than this one.
Yes.
And this one's a little bit, yeah, you can see the textures built up on this one.
Hmm.
A lot more. Yeah.
There's more of the layers, more of the sculpting, and yeah.
Yeah. No, they're the blossoms, I think, um, the color palettes, like this one is very a fall type of color palette. And does that, how does color influence you, like in what you're doing?
I'm influenced by color all the time. I find that in different seasons, I will use the colors that work with that season, especially if you're painting nature or nature inspired subjects. I find if I'm painting in the winter, I'll be using winter colors and so forth. And it shows. It definitely shows.
There's some of those things you just can't get out of it. It's just, I feel blue today, and you just, in you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
find that sometimes the local politics kind of bother you a little bit? Does some things upset you when you enter your studio and there's a lot of things on your mind, or do you just kind of block
Oh,
the view?
that comes out in my work for sure. I have a few pieces that you can see that. Definitely the world, especially right now, anybody who says they're not affected by what's going on in the world would be, well, they'd be lying. I think it's affecting all of us. And
Yeah.
it's
It's sort of, and it's sort of analogous to COVID a little bit in one way.
yeah.
I feel a lot of people are shutting themselves down. They're not traveling like they used to.
Mhm.
They're doing a lot of those things, and I think some of that does come out in your work, whether you like it or not. It just, if you don't confront it though,
Yeah.
it can build up. So it's using your work as well. It's sometimes it's hidden in your work. People say a consumer or buyer doesn't see it initially. It
Mhm.
just looks like maybe an aggressive painting or something in that nature. Until you start describing it to them, then they put it back on the shelf. They say,
Right.
"Oh, maybe I don't want that one." Uh, I have a few like that myself. I have a few that are environmental pieces, and then as soon as you tell them a little history about it, oh, maybe I don't want that on my wall, and go and then
Yeah.
move on. But it's not. You have to do those pieces. I think there. Although I mean, do you live kind of like two lives as an artist? Like there's stuff you do for yourself you don't really put out there, and you say this is the stuff I put out there.
I
You have
have I have some pieces that I have put out and that were not they were just not received well. So I've got them here. Um,
yeah
one of them was, I had done in memory of a really good friend who had passed, and maybe it was a little dark, a little more black than normal. I think as anybody who's creative, actually all people are creative in their own way, and I think anybody who goes through hardships in life or is going through a learning phase in life, those those things are with you, whether you believe it or not. I mean, grief is something that we carry and we learn to live with, but it's something that affects you, I think.
yeah and actually some of the, I hate to say it, the best work of an artist is when that happens. Whether an artist working through the war or working through a lot of
Mhm.
traumatic times, great pieces of art have been produced in
Mhm.
very stressful times of life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you look for those moments.
No, thank you. No.
But I think, I think we have, as an artist, we have an outlet for them. It's like some people will just, they'll cower and bury themselves with a coffee and a couch and sit there and they don't really get out of the shell. Where if you can get off the couch and you can move into a studio, if you get your colors laid out and you say, just start something,
Well,
just go and
we're
make
a
them.
different breed, aren't we? I mean, other people, they might go work out or something, but we need to work with our colors and our words and our creativeness. I just feel like if I'm not creative, then I'm not alive. For me,
So
that's
do you journal at all? Like, do you write about your work a lot?
I write poetry a little bit. It's not for, I don't publicize it, but writing's always been a big part of my life as well.
I think, and I just recently did a workshop and we talked about that, and about the writing aspect is almost as important as the doing of
Oh yeah.
the idea. And I said they're finding they're kind of mentally blocked. What do I do next? How do I move to the next level? How do you move to the next level of your flowers? Like, it's like, and is it a flower anymore? Does it become just these explosions of color that are responding to each other that may look like a flower? Like,
Right.
it's, how do you move? Like, I'm asking, how do you move to the next level in what you're doing? Does writing help you do that maybe?
Writing does help me do that, and journaling. I do journal and I do write. And I also, when I get excited about something, that I see or that I feel or that's a story someone tells me, uh, you know, these things that excite me become part of what I'm doing. And
I think I remember seeing documentaries on the Beatles, and a lot of them they'd read newspapers, and a lot of the verbiage and line and concepts came out of the daily newspapers that they were reading, and they'd write a song based on, almost some of the times the words are almost exactly copied out, and then they rhyme them up a little bit. But I think, so they had found a source of material for written, and then they would put a song to it. So it's, I
yeah,
think so do you put a body of work together and then approach a gallery, or
well,
do you work with the gallery?
I'm very fortunate because I'm an associate at Gallery Old Chelsea, and I also have pieces in another gallery called Chase Gallery. And through these wonderful places, I'm able to bring my work and change it up. I work with great artists at Gallery Old Chelsea, and we work together, and we hang different shows every 3 weeks for guest artists, which are new artists that we want people to see and
Nice.
learn about. And we change the walls every 6 weeks, and we change our art pretty much, very much every 6 weeks. There's a new piece by the artist or a whole new wall, and it's very interesting because we've got abstract artists, we've got beautiful landscaped artists, and we've got a sculptor, we've got a jewelry person, we've got everybody, but the creativity that everyone feels is all the same level, really high creatives, and glass art as well too. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's nice to have those associations. And I think because the level is high, I think that all influences everybody. You want to raise your own personal bar. You want
Right.
to make sure your work is good enough to hang with that other artist.
Mhm.
Or I think we all need those things. We need to find, where is our bar,
Yeah.
and how do I get over that bar to the next level?
Yeah.
And can that glass artist influence me, or has influenced me in a certain way, like just through colors and shapes and things that they do, and hopefully vice versa.
Yes.
This is probably one of my favorite pieces of yours in this piece. And I think it's just this, the neutralities that are in contrast to the exuberance of the multiplicity of the flowers. That they're all tangled together in a mass, and yet they're all hanging together in these loose pods of color. And they're glowing to me. I mean, I think I love the palette, and I mean the palette of color uh, is gorgeous. Can you just tell me a little bit about what's
Well,
going
this
on in this one?
this was one of my first florals that I ever did, abstract florals. This is when I moved into the world of florals. And again,
Okay.
the purples, the influence of Greece, all the purples of bougainvillea and different flowers they have there. They have a lot of purple, a lot of pinks, and I never really painted with those colors before.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it and just kept going. This probably has less layers than most of my paintings. It's got a lot more movement in it. And some of them were actually created with a ruler and paint on the ruler and moving it around to get the lines. And then there was brushwork. And yeah. It was a
You scared me for a minute there. You used a ruler. I was like,
fun. No, I used it as a tool. It was a
pretty crooked ruler. That's what I.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
it was a ruler. Yeah.
yeah. So this is a 3636,
Yes,
probably, or
it
the
is. Yeah.
square. Beautiful. It'll look lovely in a home or wherever. But I'm just saying, I'm just like this would bring brilliance to you. You come in every morning and you'd see that come down the stairs and you look at that and say, oh man, that's just. But it would change. Do you find your paintings change as the light in the room changes throughout the day?
Yes, it can, depending on the room itself. And the
Yeah,
person who bought it she's got it in a beautiful room with lots of windows and light. So she notices the difference in it as well. So
so are you the kind of artist that say, oh, that one sold quick, I want to make another one? Do you do that kind of thing at all?
I wish I could say yes, but no, I don't.
It's hard to do sometimes. Yeah,
There's another one similar to that, but the bottom tablecloth part is yellow, and that's still available.
yeah,
Um, but I no, I don't. I don't tend to do things exactly the same.
yeah. Some people are really good at that. They're able to replicate.
Oh, I wish I could. I wish I
No, you don't. No, you don't. It's good.
could.
Keep, well, we're down to, I mean, making a living as well, right?
Yep, yep.
Some people need to, sell multiple paintings a month to make a
Well,
living.
I
And you
don't think
say,
you
well,
can paint and use this amount of paint or these amount of tools and canvases. You do have to make money somehow. It's very expensive today, to
yeah,
do it.
it is. And I think sometimes they say you milk it as long as you can and then you move on to the next one. But I think having, you know, credibility in a little bit to say, this is the way I do my business, and
Mhm.
this is an inspiration for a certain period of my time.
Mhm.
And I find personally, I get into time zone things where I'll paint this subject matter for a while, then I'll go back and do something different, and then I'll back to it. And I found, I don't know if you find after we've been painting for 30 some years, and you do you find you look back at some of the earlier works that you're circling around, or is it just me?
Um, some of them I do look at and I'm still inspired by, and some of them I really love how I've grown, not past, but with it. I
Yeah,
I love that aspect of it.
yeah.
Um,
I mentioned that because I found that I'm kind of certain, not so much in the style, whatever, but I circle back to sometimes the subject matter when you're more naive years of exploring what you like to paint and draw and sculpt.
mhm.
That's some of the most precious time because you don't have to produce anything magical. You're not, there's no pressures on you. You're discovering whatever you like.
Mhm.
Whereas you mature later, a lot of times yeah, that works. So I'm going to produce more of those if you're a commercial sense. And
Mhm.
you get out of the discovery aspects of where you started, right? And you find out those formative years are probably, they set you up for the rest of your life. And if you have a good start, good mentors, a little bit of schooling, a little bit of understanding, but definitely good mentors, and you're able to travel a little bit. Do you find travel is really important in your work? Like for things?
I love traveling. I also do a residency on the island in Toronto called Gibraltar Point, and I go there every year. And you just walk the beach, you write, you paint. It's an old building. I find I get inspired and I just have time to just paint. That's the thing about the residencies. There's no laundry, there's nothing else. The only responsibility for you is to create. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, but most days it's just so fabulous. I can't explain it. It's so exciting.
So how was the experience with the residency in Pooch Cove in Newfoundland this
Oh,
year?
it was amazing. I mean, in January in Newfoundland.
You're
So
indoors?
yeah, a lot of people said, boy, it's going to be, so it was warmer in Newfoundland than it was where I live in Ottawa. So that's kind of funny. It's James Baird Gallery. It's called Pooch Cove Residency. I had a beautiful place to create. And as you walk out of where you create, you just go down the road 5 minutes and there's the ocean, the wild, wild ocean, and trails to walk. The the place itself is just, it just makes you want to create. There's just a sense of creating. And I was there with some artistic friends. We formed a group during COVID called Seven Works Collective, and most of us were there, and we inspire each other. We care about each other, and we really do enjoy each other's art. So it's great. Everybody's creating, and then we come together and have dinner, and then we go back and we create or not. But it's a group of people that you can count on to discuss your art and also learn from. It's a wonderful way to travel, I think.
Yeah, I've seen a number of different shows there, and I hear it's closing this year, I think.
Yes, unfortunately, this is the last year, and I personally didn't get a chance to meet James Baird in person, but I've heard a lot of wonderful things about him. But they're going to keep it as a gallery, but not an artist residency anymore, which is I'm so glad we were invited to go. That's all I can say.
I can only imagine the amount of work it takes to manage that, and all the other insurances and all the other stuff that goes with managing a space like that. It's just precious when you can find them and discover them. I think they're right across Canada. We have them.
Yeah.
It's just you've got to find them and pull
Yeah.
them out, and most of them are by application, but Bears was by invitation only.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think in the early days you could apply, and then I think he was overwhelmed, and then raising the bar again as to
Yeah.
how do you help these artists, give them a month of time to get a good body of work together.
Yeah.
That really became important, and a lot of them had shows at the gallery as well. So I think we've had a number of our members go there.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
experience
lovely.
that.
Yeah,
We have,
and they would know what I'm talking.
I think Brandy Satterley has been there twice, probably in
Nice.
the last few years. So, which helped her with her iconic imagery that's helping with about Canada. And I think needing those boosts a little bit in our career is really important.
Mhm.
To find the right ones. Some people go to France, but a lot of times you don't have to go as far as that. It's probably cheaper to go to France than it is to travel in Canada. But
I don't know. Maybe. I have a friend who went there. I should ask her. I'm not sure.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, not everything's about cheap, but a lot of times you have to pay your way
Mhm.
for that. With Pooch Cove, was that the residency was
I didn't
yeah,
pay for the residency, but what you do is you make a piece of art and you donate it and you leave the piece of art. So
okay.
I
So
left a
that's
large piece for him. Um,
that's
yeah, is
perfect.
that fantastic? I mean,
So you pay your flights there and back, and
yeah,
your
yeah,
materials and such, and
yeah.
yeah. No, it's a great thing. A lot of artists said, "Hey, I can trade art for a lot of stuff. I'm willing to do it."
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, well, I thought that was an amazing opportunity, and I'm really glad I took it. And we
Yeah.
were there.
You
It's
talk about this little piece here a little bit
oh,
before I say
offside.
before I say anything. I want to hear what you say.
Okay, so this is offside. So this is definitely taking nature, wildlife, and putting it in a vase. That's basically the best way to explain this. And it's a small piece, and I find it really fun. The exciting part for me was to actually paint the background gray. I'm not a gray person usually, and I wanted to give it a try, and I really like how it turned out. I think this is a fun piece, again, just fun.
Yeah, it feels very African to me. Like it has this African mask.
Oh,
Been
cool.
been feeling this way. Whether there's this um, leopard stuck in the glass in the foreground. There's a like you mentioned you putting animals in it and different things. I said, well, it'd be that's a cool idea. Like it's just oh, what if there was a leopard in this one, and you know
Yeah.
just the textures of it. I'm saying that way,
Yes.
but
Well,
they have
again, it's the mark making and
yeah
the different
yeah.
tools, and then you create this energy. It's an energy, I think.
It is, and I think they are fields of color. And I said, and I'm thinking about the gray in the background, which was probably an overpaint of a red background or something. It was overpainted,
Yeah.
but it makes the three vases pop off the page, becoming more important than the background. And you
Yeah.
know, you you carried that squiggle onto the glass on the and the one on the left. So it was just because, you know, from the flowers to that, see, how do you tie these together? Or they're still very separated, so the textures aren't all just a blur. They
Right.
still, there's some massive color in some areas that give you that abstract shape, that vibrance, but also, I
Like,
guess, looseness of line, I guess,
yeah.
as well. So yeah, and I guess I like that more so than this really defined little line glass edges for your work, for your
Yeah.
style, what you're doing. It's just gotta, yeah.
Yeah, that I don't think that would work. And the movement, like you want, I'm trying to get the movement as well, you know.
There seems to be some spatula work or something in the top. You can see some
Yeah, definitely.
across there. So it's not just, there's a transparency happening over top of that red, you know, that's happening in there.
Yeah.
That gives you that movement feeling, I would think. There's some lines coming through from scratching and doing
Yeah.
different things with the surface.
Yeah.
Nice surface textures. But even down to on the right hand side, there's little black blotches or probably impressions that are put in there with a device of some kind. We won't even ask you what the device was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. You don't remember everything I do on every single one, but
Yeah, I've got a electric toothbrush that's dying on me. I'm thinking, maybe I should dip this toothbrush in paint and turn it on clean and see what it does.
we'll get some nice little spots, right? Some people use toothbrushes with paint to make, you know, splatters, right?
Yeah. Well, electric toothbrush would be pretty nasty. There'd be it'll
You
be
have to be big.
well, I'm looking for different tools, and I say, how can I use that? I've used toothbrushes before. I used to do watercolors a lot. Yes,
Yeah.
you can do little flicks, but a lot of times in the early days, even mascoid, you'd put a little bit in that and you can flick it. It becomes snow or different things because you'd paint around it and then with a kneaded eraser, you pull it off and
That's
you have
right. Yeah.
white. Oh, I hated that. I know. And then the next week you go back and you find it's all dried up. Your whole little jar of, it's just a rubber in a bottle. Left the lid off of it or something. Anyway, lots of fun things we talk about materials, but you had fun doing this one. This was
I did. I really
yeah.
had fun doing
I
it.
can sense that. Yeah, I can just sense the fun aspect of these floral baubles. I mean, they feel very candy flossy. You know, it's this they've been spun. You know, and they're not kind of like bouffants spun, but they're kind of just yeah. I love the fact that just a little bit of color in the background, and then you bring them forward with brighter, lighter colors in the foreground. And so that's just done with is that done with your really long handled brush?
Yes, actually, yes, it was.
You stole that from Monet, did you? Hey.
I don't know. Actually, I think it might have been a teacher as well that got us doing some abstract things. Yeah.
I think it happened initially. The French had these 3-foot long handles, and part of it was because of you had to get back, but also their eyesight was getting worse.
Yeah, especially.
And whether they had macro degenerate or their focus was longer, like guys needing longer arms to read the book. And so the long handled brush, and I think in later years, was it Miro or somebody? It was this, almost laying in bed and drawing on the wall and ceilings with his long, just painting right to the end.
Frida did that too, when her back was broken, she was painting from her bed on the walls.
It's really hard though, because you think you can hold that brush up in the air for a long time. It gets heavy after a while. I don't know.
It does.
It does, and which creates a different kind of line quite a bit. But in listening to some autobiographies by some artists, they would do portraits of their model, like doing model paintings, and the model would be sitting for hours, and the artist really was doodling until the model got tired and all the muscles relaxed, and then the artist just went like fever to paint that feeling, because in the early stages the model is all tensed up and firm and everything is going, but after a while they get the arm slumps and the head, and finally you get the pose you want. And I think that can happen with doing florals. You said, do you paint florals that are in their last stages of their life.
I have done, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I find those the most interesting.
Well, the brown spots and the fallen parts. Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of daylilies in our backyard that are just on their tail end of their life, and I'm going, they're beautiful. I mean, I love the blossoms, but
Mhm.
when they're falling apart and there's only two petals left and there's one dangling, it's like a really nice drawing. They're just beautiful pieces,
Yes.
and you almost itch to go back out into the garden and start doing some plein air painting from them alone, just
Yeah.
to capture that the full life of a flower rather than just, this is my great day, paint me. I'm out here for 3-4 hours, then I start going downhill, right?
Right.
And you go painting the flower for the week while it's good to the end of its life. You think it's very much like a person, right? To the early years to our end years, and they're quite
The life, yeah.
there is a life. Here's a go. A little bit happier one here. This is a very linear one, and I can see how this one was similar to a previous one we had
Yes,
seen.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was after a visit to a potter's studio. I was really influenced by the pottery in her studio. And I came back and just had to do that. That's, again, it's not a large one, and it's simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Is
a
it
lot of layers on that one.
is this charcoal or is it paint?
Paint. It's all paint.
So it's kind of a dry brush effect with a smaller brush to do your linear work with. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because a lot of people will work up a charcoal, spray
Well,
fix
one
it
of
in
them,
place, and then work on it.
yeah, and one of them has been scratched through the black. There was black in the background, and then
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Titan buff put on top, and then more put on top, and then the pink, sort of dusty rose pink, was sort of blushed on. It wasn't really brushed, if you get my meaning. It was
Yeah.
more, I used my fingers for that one.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a fun one. It was a fun day, and it was a fun painting to make.
Yeah. No, they're being involved in your work. You can see that. You can see when the artist is actually one with that canvas. This one, but they're very pastel. This one compared to your previous works,
Yes, it is.
in which is probably an effect um, from your, I guess, your day as to how your day was. You said a good day and everything was fine.
Yeah.
And,
Visiting a potter's studio, it was fascinating, just fascinating to me.
it is nice to get that, isn't it? When you go to somebody that's something different,
Yeah.
we'll talk to a jewelry artist who creates things completely different than you do.
Yeah.
And they have to look at their substrate differently than you look at yours. Yet they're looking for color, shape, all these things, but they're responding to metals and jewelry and jewels. And how are they going to create that light looking thing or heavy, whatever they're going to do? And you think, I got the same problem, but I'm working with paint and a canvas and doing those kind of things, right? So each one of us have those things to share with each other.
Photographers too, Paul? My goodness, they really are amazing what they do. I know a photographer using a pinhole camera, if you can believe it, and I've learned so much from him as well. Amazing, just amazing.
One of our previous interviews with Kevin Hogarth, watch him. He just found a batch of 120 film, and he's doing double exposures the old way and with new versions of it. So he's not even using digital anymore. He's gone back to using this. He was befriended many rolls of very old film, 20, 30 years old. It's been in a freezer. So he been working with this and creating beautiful landscape paintings, portraits of
Wow.
it's of this truck. Anyway, people want to see it, they can see it on our network on Kevin Hogarth. But it's beautiful, just different ways of looking at things. I think we're all, when you take 20 or 30 years of experience,
Yeah.
you say, okay, now I'm at a time in my life when I want to really dig in. I want to find, before I was like discover, sell a few pieces
And learn, yeah.
some
And
of it's
what do you want to say? Like, who what are you trying to say, and who am I, and what does it matter?
And what does it matter is right. But I find, do you feel the human response is really important in your work? That you
You mean people liking it, or
know, like, how do you put that? Some people put people in their work, and it'll be okay, for lack of an austere landscape, but there's a feeling that a person was there in that landscape. It could be a road, it could be a fence, it could be something that just says, I as a person, or a person was in this space. It's to form that connection between the viewer and what they're looking at, whether it be, was man there before, or am I the first one to explore it? Do you find your work can imbue some of that a little bit?
I don't think I've ever gone that far back. I think that my work is it's I think it's more of a story and more of a feeling about a place. It's never really been about people, although people have been part of the story and influence what I paint. If that makes sense to your question, I'm not sure.
And I think you are involving people in your work. I mean, this vase was
Yeah.
made by somebody.
Yeah.
The flowers were picked and placed in there. So I know that people were
Hmm.
part of this piece that you worked, because there was a people connection. If you
Absolutely.
did, yeah, if you did just a wildflower garden out on a field and there was no trail, no, it was just all natural prairie, that had no personal touch to it. But
Right.
if you saw an airplane streak in the sky, that now put a human connection to that piece. That's what I'm just saying. There's how do you connect people? Sometimes it's that little worn trail, a
Right.
cow, almost a cow trail that goes through a flower field. You think,
Right.
well, that that made a connection to me more so than just flowers.
Right.
But it said, oh, somebody was there before. Whether that's important or not doesn't matter.
So this piece is an abstract piece. I love abstract art. I am an abstract artist, and this is just,
Yeah.
but again, working with the purple colors, which I had not used before, the purple and pinks, and how to bring that into my work. And yeah,
Beautiful piece. No.
thank you.
Yeah, what do you think of that nice black stripe on the right side? Is that
I think that's great.
we put black backgrounds on our pieces for Karen's work. The white just didn't work
Yeah,
for the show here, and yeah, it.
the
I,
Canada
I just I love the color patching on this one. My wife's a quilter, and she lay out her colors on the table
yeah.
prior to doing any quilting, figuring out the patterns and the color palette that's going to be working together. So it's nice, very harmonious. Yet, and I love this warm white in the background. It just that
Mhm.
cream color just, man, it settles things down. Yet
Yes.
there's some really nice. I like the abstract aspects to it. Little, the textures that are pushed in there as well. They're just drawing, scratching, and it still feels floral to me a little bit, but it's still there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got a bit of it. This one, of course, yeah.
yeah.
This
You had fun in this one, yeah.
that is just pure joy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love, what I love the most is the vase. It just
Yeah,
looks like it's been
me
put in one push,
too.
done.
The vase came out, so I went, "Oh my goodness, there it is." Great. I love when that happens.
I'm becoming quite a proponent of minimalism in art, and if you can capture, Japanese and Chinese drawing and like calligraphy, you can get it in one swoop. Of the width of the brush is right for the stroke of the character of the letter, the weight, the feeling, and you doing typography, and you understand that feeling of the script
Oh, yeah.
that's happening. I can sense that in some of this work that you've done, some of that other work.
Mhm.
I love the base because it looks like it was pushed in one pull.
Yeah.
Done.
It certainly did pop up quite well. I was like, "Wow, that's great." I'm just gonna leave
Why
it.
not? It's not, who knows? The vase can be, it doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be whatever you want it to be. But I think it's a nice balance with what's happening. There is a lot of energy going on the top end,
A lot of movement. Yeah.
a lot of movement, and the loose dry lines that are put in, and then the colors, the florals that are popping. It's gorgeous. Yeah, really nice.
Thank you.
We end with this one. Yeah, they they feel like, how do you put this? I always say what things look like. I said these feel like two high-rise buildings that there's this explosion of energy, of sparkles of light and things that are booming, like it's July 1st day, and it feels like two apartment type buildings with all this energy going off in the sky around it. And whether it's a bouquet.
It's
But why not?
Yep, exactly. Just
Yeah.
trying different things and just going with the flow at the moment. It seems to be a floral calling, which is I'm having fun with it.
Why not? You're having fun.
Yeah.
You're definitely having fun. There's a killjoy right there.
Yeah, Killjoy's here. What can I tell you? Sorry, it's just the way life goes. All good things must come to an end, kids. It's
Yeah.
just the way it happens. So here's my question I ask everybody. So if you've seen any shows, you know what they are. If you
Okay.
haven't, um, so what's the price of your art? If someone sees your art and says, I must have a piece, what is it? What's roughly the between where and where are we?
Oh, well, a 36 by 36 would be anywhere between 19 and 25, depending on
Dollars.
the
Wow,
frame.
that is
1900
really good.
and 25. Yes.
Okay.
Depending on the frame,
Okay.
and that would be about.
Very
There you
cool.
go.
All right. There you go. That was
So
it. And so that's Canadian. So the
That's
people in the
Canadian.
EU, it's free.
So
She just charges a lot for shipping. And in the United States,
they
I'm
pay
not sure how that works anymore. So
when I ship to the States, they pay for the shipping. So they're good.
okay, so you ship worldwide.
Yes, I have shipped to the States. Yes.
Okay. We have people in the UAE watch this. So that's why we asked if you
I
ship
love.
worldwide because they're like there you go. So there you have
we're,
it. So you
yeah, we're
19 to
friends with them.
2500. Yes, we like it. So are we. So, I mean, the show, not the country. So there you go. But no, your work is absolutely beautiful. And see, I told you she started at a young age painting rough flowers. So there you go.
There you go.
So I'm just saying. So I'm going to stop drawing my stick figures now. It's been a pleasure. If anybody would like to get a hold of Karen, her links will be below, or you reach out to the show. We'll put you in touch with her. Or get a hold of Paul, and we will back next week with another artist from Canada. And don't forget to
Yeah.
subscribe and like.
Next week will be very interesting. I think
Uh-oh.
there'll be two artists next week.
Wow, 2 for 1, a 2 for everybody on Thursday. There you go.
Yeah, it's going to be I being one of the artists. So
Wow.
it's a challenging. It'll be a challenging.
It's not going to be me drawing stick figures, is it? Because that's not going to be a good show if I'm
No,
drawing stick figures. Okay, good.
we're
You have a
we're
real
actually
artist. Okay.
two different journeys of
All
an
right.
artist. So we're gonna see if we can make sense of it. We'll just see what
Very
happens.
cool.
It'll
That
be
Very
sounds
nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
okay.
Karen, once again, thank you so much. Paul, it's always good to see you. Fans, thank you so much. We'll see you all next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. Cheers, everybody. Have a great day.
Cheers.